Want to do pooping. Hey.
Hi. So we're, discussing how to how do we even I guess like title this conversation? I mean, I liked what? It's a crappy conversation
I liked poop with Jamie.
or it's another crappy
Conversation
conversation
with
with
Jamie.
Jamie. This this is what I work with. It's a crappy we are actually having a crappy conversation
We're
tonight.
gonna have a very crappy conversation.
It's just gonna be a poopy night.
hmm
We can have so much fun with these topics, I'm telling you. So, for those of you who don't know us, tonight's topic is about poop with the doctor.
Yes, I'm Dr. Colin Consales, and this is Jamie.
I am Jamie. I am Big Head Jamie because he always sits so far back, which makes my head look so big.
I'll move really far up. How's this?
Look, now our heads look equal. Do you see that? He does this to me all the time. Gonna have like a big head complex.
I'm sorry. It's just
We're
my
gonna have to
small
get a
head.
new scale at the office just to measure my big head.
We've gone too far.
If you guys come into the office and you see me wearing some head contraption, we'll be coming up with like a how to get Jamie to lose her head weight. So we are so excited to have you guys join us. On a serious note, though, I'm so fortunate that I get to work here with two of the most awesome holistic doctors. And it's so cool, I have to say, because you guys really just find the coolest ways to talk with us, meaning anyone who doesn't have a doctorate degree, living a holistic lifestyle. You guys just have such awesome ways of communicating how we should be doing things or, different ways to make us healthier holistically in a step-by-step process, which someone like me can appreciate because I need steps. I'm not into the whole I really do want to be into the whole wake up and there's a whole new me,
Oh, that would be nice.
like new year new you, right? You wake up a brand new person,
Doesn't happen, or if it happens, it doesn't last.
not a sugar addict anymore. Just I wake up miraculously healed of all of these awful things society has taught me to love. So we
It
don't
can happen, but it's rare.
it can happen.
Sure.
You've been known to do some magical things with people. I would take that treatment plan.
That's a miracle. Miracles happen, but yes, it can.
Well, it hasn't happened with me so far, which is good for you guys because you get to suffer through all of these wonderful things that I'm learning about myself that I've been doing wrong to feel better. And I gotta say, initially coming here, I have been very reluctant to some of the the things that I need to do to make myself feel good. But I've never felt better.
Great.
I don't even know how old I am. How old am I? I'm in my lower 40s and I feel better than I did in my 30s because I was so sick. And
Nice.
it's nice because it's my choices.
Always.
It's always like I came to work Monday. Monday was the day.
It's a great day.
And the horrible thing about working for your doctor is they know you well enough to know what's going on. So like Monday I came in and guys, if you come into the office and I'm quiet, it just means I'm not eating right or something's wrong, right? And on Monday the truck came and ran me over because I had been making some really awful food choices, and I looked at you. I remember the truck has come. The truck has come. It hit me. It ran me over. So I'm on 3 days of doing well now, and I know you can tell because I'm talking to people.
You're alive again. Yeah.
So it's so cool. We get to talk about poop tonight. Poop, of all things. I know Dr. Sarah's really upset she's the one not here.
Yeah. we should start off by saying if this conversation makes anyone uncomfortable, I highly recommend the thriller of a book, Everybody Poops, by author, have it written here, Taro Gomi. Great book. Children's book, but it kind of just sets the stage for the fact that everybody poops and you shouldn't be offended by poop talk.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
To everybody.
Everybody. And everything.
So, I mean...
Most everything.
All right, so let's get into this poop talk. I mean, how concerned should we be about our poop?
Pretty concerned. It can tell you a lot about yourself.
All right, so I posted a question to our viewers. Should your poop float or sink? And the majority of them got this right, which is ironic. What is ironic about it is the people who wrote the wrong answer actually have issues. So I
Interesting.
thought that was really interesting.
So it should sink.
Should sink.
Yes. And if it doesn't, it means that you're not emulsifying or breaking down the fats that you're eating. And that doesn't mean that you should stop eating fats. It means that your liver or gallbladder probably needs a little bit of help, which is very common today.
Okay. So far we need poop that sinks.
Poop that sinks.
Okay. What color should it be?
It should be, I don't have anything to, should be a darker brown.
Like
Find
that
something
bile?
here. No, too light. Maybe like that. It's
Okay.
Nice walnut color.
I mean, thankfully we didn't bring you any pictures of what
Yeah.
good poop should look like.
So, and if it's light, then that's a gallbladder problem as well. Like the color of my skin. If you're pooping the color of my skin, that's a really big problem. Or, like a light brown, that's also a gallbladder issue.
What about dark poop?
Dark can be a whole other thing. It can deal with what you're eating. So, if you want colorful poop, like if you want to poop and it turns the color of the water pink or purple,
Oh, okay.
you can eat some fresh beets, like steamed beets. If you use canned, the interesting thing is, very interesting fact, if you're using canned beets, that will not happen. But regular beets, if you get them and like steam them for 45 minutes and then peel the skin off and eat them that way,
Can I bake them?
baking, you won't, if you're looking for the color effect, it won't happen as well.
Okay.
So, but that happens, that can make it darker. And your blood in the stool can also make it darker, which is something like if you have a black stool, you're probably bleeding internally, like your intestinal tract. So that's
Because like
something you have
that'd
to
be like
watch for.
dried blood.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's why I mentioned beets, because you want to be able to tell the difference. And when you eat beets like that, your urine can also turn like an orange red, and you can think that you're bleeding, but that's not the fact. We actually get a lot of patients that sometimes think that when they start eating fresh beets. So you have to be mindful of kind of what you're consuming and how it can react with the color of your stool.
So, okay. What about green poop?
Green poop.
Green poop.
That's another gallbladder issue. That's actually bile that isn't digested and broken down properly.
So, could, say, a cake that's like really high in
Green
sugar.
food coloring? Oh, okay.
Sugar.
Sugar.
No green food coloring, just like a normal, sugar-filled cake cause you green poop.
I don't know.
Well, it
To
can.
tell you
I
the
just
truth.
wondered why.
It can?
It can.
How do you
Yeah.
know that?
So my kids actually
yeah.
told me that every time they have this one particular cake,
I did, yeah, well,
it's
I'm
like a
not
green
sure.
poop party.
Okay, I'm not quite sure why that would happen, but that's possible, I suppose.
So
Because you're messing with like you inflame the digestive tract when you eat a lot of sugar, and that can affect the breakdown and absorption of different foods, and also bile, I would guess. So,
what color is bile?
like
Is it
greenish
green?
yellow, yeah.
Okay. And so, all right, it's just a stinky conversation.
It is.
Why do farts and poop stink?
You really need to know that?
I mean, why though? Why? What is happening?
So we'll put it this way. If you will switch it around so it's not so disgusting.
Okay.
So
I'm not disgusted.
if you're smelling like a nice like pie that someone's cooked for you,
Okay.
what you're actually smelling, like how the nose works and how every smell works, is you're breathing in small little microparticles of whatever that substance is.
This
I'll just put it that way.
this grosses me out so badly from a former germaphobe.
That's how life works, though.
Okay, so I mean, if I walk into a bathroom and it stinks,
You're smelling that person's innards.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so, all right, what if somebody burps stink?
Yeah.
So, is a burp the same thing as a fart?
No, it's not digested the whole way. So burp is more like it's higher up in the digestive tract, so you may get some. It may actually smell like the food that you just ate.
Okay, so
Usually
like
it
you're
does.
burping up garlic or
Yeah,
onions.
it's going to smell like that. Whereas if it passes through the whole digestive tract, it's come in contact with bacteria and different things that actually change and different gases form from that bacteria. So it's a completely different product.
Which is so true, right? Because I can't recall. I mean, I live with 3 kids. There are gases going off like crazy in my house because of how old they are.
Sounds like we need some help.
We do need some help.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't say that we've ever been like, oh, that was an onion fart or that was a garlic fart. Like you do with burps, like kids do with burps.
True.
Which is probably why I don't even care about this conversation, because after 3 kids, there's so much poop that you have dealt with in your
you
life.
become hardened to poop, which can go on to our next subject.
Speaking of hard and poop, why would our poop be hard?
Well, if poop is stuck in the digestive tract for too long, the fluids of that fecal matter will actually be reabsorbed into the body, and that dehydrates it, and that could make hard poop. So that's one thing. Or you can eat something that really basically turns into like cement in your intestinal tract, like cheese and bread. That stuff will really make you constipated. Just backs you up. It's like plugging a hole.
What about bananas? Like, because
They have some fiber in it though, so not as much.
like I've heard both ends here that like bananas. I mean, when kids have diarrhea, you think go to a banana because it'll help
Yeah.
harden that up.
Mhm.
But you don't want to eat too many bananas because then you can be constipated.
Yeah, just think like anything that's thick and starchy has the potential to do that.
And so, all right, so we have there's so many questions here, so I don't even know where to go with this. How often should we poop?
Twice a day is normal.
Twice a day?
Yeah, once is like the bare minimum, and then three's good, but anything over 3 you shouldn't, and you shouldn't go anything below 1. So you should have about at least 1 bowel movement a day.
I didn't know that. I did not know like 2 to 3 bowel movements
Taught the poop master
a
something.
day. All right, and then I need to know like what are some things to help? Like what are some holistic things at home, things that moms can do for a constipated kid and a kid with somebody who's sick, has diarrhea?
So, well, let's talk about why diarrhea would occur.
Okay.
So that's the body trying to flush out a toxin or a substance that is toxic to the body in some way, shape, or form. So what happens is the body just floods the intestinal tract with all the fluid it can find just to push it out as quickly as possible. So like if you have food poisoning, that would be one. If you eat a lot of sugar, sometimes that'll happen. Like I've had patients, actually one today that came in and she was a big pop drinker, and we got her body working properly and got her off of that stuff, and she tried drinking pop again and it just gave her diarrhea. So it's a toxin to the body, and the body realizes that and recognizes that when it's functioning properly. So if you're constipated though, you want to get things moving, because if you don't, those toxins that are in the bowel actually are released out from the bowel into the surrounding tissues, which can cause low back pain or cause inflammation in the body, along with a number of other things. And it creates a very toxic environment, and it's not comfortable either. So if you're really constipated, I always say the first thing to try would be an ice cold glass of water first thing in the morning. Like as soon as you wake up, ice cold, whole glass. If that doesn't work, then you eat a whole head of head lettuce in one day. And it's the only time, head lettuce meaning iceberg lettuce, it's the only time I ever recommend iceberg lettuce because it has barely any nutritional value. But what it does is it puts nutrients in, or not nutrients, it puts water into the intestinal tract and rehydrates things. Because like I said, the longer that's in there, the more dehydrated it's going to be and the harder your poop's going to be.
Okay.
And then another thing that you can try is squeezing a whole lemon, juicing a whole lemon in the morning, drinking that down if you can tolerate that.
This is my favorite.
Yes. And then one other thing that you can do if you need to is try to get the best quality prunes that you can. And you get like a normal sized bowl, maybe something like, this big, nothing too large. Put 5 prunes in there, fill it with water, let it sit overnight, and let the prunes soak up the water. In the morning, drink the juice and eat the prunes. And that oftentimes helps.
Okay, and so I know like a lot of our patients before they come here, like they're suffering with constipation.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, at first you're like, oh, haha, it's funny because it's poop. But I mean, truthfully, when you're going through that, it's awful and painful. And so it's actually one of the things I celebrate the most with people up at the front desk is when they poop. Because it's just awful.
Poop celebrations up front.
Yes, poop celebrations up front.
Nice.
All the time. Poop celebrations up front. But, like, those are great things to do if someone's constipated and needs instant relief.
And there are reasons why someone may be chronically constipated. So you have, one could be that you're actually not, your gallbladder isn't working right. Like a lot of the stuff is going back to the function of the gallbladder, and also can be pancreas too, because they both release, the gallbladder releases the bile, which breaks down the fats, and bile actually causes the intestinal tract to start moving. So it increases the mobility or motility of the intestines. And then pancreas releases enzymes, and you need proper, like the food that you eat needs to be acidified properly from stomach acid. So those 3 things need to start up the whole process. And then once that gets in the intestinal tract, if everything's good, everything will move properly. But once you get down into the tract, like there's a junction point between the large and the small intestine, and we call it a valve, so ileocecal valve, but really it's more like a flap. If that flap is more shut than open, you're going to get backed up. If it's more open than shut, you're going to pass things through too quickly and you're not going to absorb the nutrients. And we fix that valve, the function of that valve, more on a structural level. So it's one of the things that we help and fix here. You also have another one of those flaps where the large intestine goes down and connects to what's called your sigmoid colon. So descending colon into your sigmoid colon, which is the last portion of your intestinal tract. And that's another valve or flap point. It's called the valve of Houston. And if that's shut or open too far, you can develop problems.
Okay. And so where does a fart come into play?
What?
like, okay, so we've created poop.
After that serious
conversation. So I'm following along, right? I'm following along all
and
these.
Obviously, all that's on your mind is
farts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how? Okay, so our body. All right, listen. I've created poop. It's getting pushed through all of my intestines.
Mm-hmm.
Where does the fart come in? How is my body creating a fart?
Oh, well, it's from gas that's typically produced by bacteria in the intestinal tract.
So, I mean, there's always bacteria there.
Good bacteria, yep. And there's bad bacteria, and there can be parasites, there can be fungus or yeast, there could be viruses. So essentially what you need to make sure that it's called like your microbiome or your gut flora. You need to think of it as like real estate, okay? You have really good neighbors, and you want as many good neighbors as you can get. And the good neighbors are the good bacteria. And then you have the bad neighbors that try to move in, okay? So bad neighbors are always trying to move in, and that would be like parasites and fungus and yeast and viruses. So say like bad neighbors, so if someone gets really sick of the neighborhood and they move out, well, then you have the opportunity or the potential for a bad neighbor to move in, right? So there's a limited amount of space. You need to have that space filled by good people. And things that can kill off the good people and make them not want to stay are alcohol, like something that could kill off good bacteria, or excessive amounts of sugars, or maybe a bad food of some sort that kills off the good bacteria. Maybe, like something that, like this recent, like romaine lettuce, you're putting the wrong type of stuff in there. So it's like population control, and you want to keep the bad away as best you can. So you want to do everything you can to rebuild and keep a great environment for good people or good bacteria. And one of the things you can do for that is actually eat fermented foods. It's one of the best ways of doing that. So kimchi and sauerkraut, homemade stuff, it's really, really, really good for you. Excellent. Way better than ever taking a probiotic. And not everyone needs a probiotic. A lot of people need prebiotic, which is actually more of like an acidic type product, like kimchi or sauerkraut. It's sour because it's acidic.
Kimchi is like flavored cabbage, right?
Yeah, so kimchi is just sauerkraut. It's a different type of cabbage called Napa cabbage. The same stuff, but you can put a bunch of other vegetables in it and a bunch of seasonings and spices. So you could do the same thing with sauerkraut.
A lot of times,
cabbage.
Like kimchi, like the farmers markets, a lot of our local farmers markets have kimchi.
It's really good stuff. It's really flavorful.
But like if you buy, like, because I actually had no idea what this was till I started working here, and you guys were eating it, and it's really good. But if you buy it, I mean, at stores, it's sugar in it. A lot of times there's sugar in it.
Okay.
So
you want to avoid that.
So avoid that. It's interesting, right? Because like we stink under our arms from bacteria too. Like it's just
bacteria is what makes us stink.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so how long? Like I eat something. How long does it typically take before it gets through my digestive tract?
It's going to depend on whether or not the valves are open or closed, and what you ate, because some things can move through you a little faster than others. But I mean, you can look for like 12 hours or so. That would be kind of normal. But it just depends, because everyone's digestive tract moves at a different rate. And there are a lot of other factors, like your activity levels will actually change how quickly your bowels move. So the more you're up and moving, actually, the more your bowels move.
So, okay, and then I'm flopping around like there's no real nice flow to this conversation. It's
Apparently,
just happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a bowel movement.
Right. So you always hear about people passing, like having heart attacks. Have you ever heard? You've not heard this?
I actually haven't. Of having a heart attack
while
having a bowel movement.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So there's one thing that I find clinically that can link to that, but I don't know if that's what causes a heart attack. But a lot of times with constipation, especially in young children, we find that the heart is actually not functioning at 100%, and that needs some nutrients to give it what it needs to work. And it seems to be related in some way, shape, or form to the mobility and the power, you could think of, the intestinal tract, like the power it has to move things around. So we do find that clinically, but I have never heard of heart attacks with pooping. Maybe you need to eat a head of iceberg lettuce to get things a little moisturized inside.
More lubricated.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I do have a mom question for you.
Okay.
The mom question is, you have kids, they have diarrhea, and a lot of people, you're most concerned as a mom with dehydration.
Yes.
Okay. So then, of course, we always go to your favorite, ginger ale.
Mm-hmm.
Every mom's like, oh, I'm going to give them ginger ale because it has ginger in it and these bubbles to calm their bellies.
So that works well for like nausea.
Okay.
That's mainly what you'd use. You'd use ginger or peppermint for nausea. But for diarrhea, you want to drink a lot of water and add a little bit of good quality salt to that, because you need to restore the electrolytes. So Celtic sea salt or Himalayan pink salt. You need to add that to it because you're dehydrating yourself. You don't want to stop diarrhea from happening. You want it to continue, because that's what's pushing all the stuff that shouldn't be in there out. The same thing with when you're coughing or blowing your nose all the time. That's happening for a reason. You don't want to stop that, because if you stop it, you leave that stuff inside and you actually create more damage than if you would just let it come out. Listen to your body. Let it do what it needs to do.
It's so crazy sometimes, like listening to you and Dr. Sarah say some things like, taking away from this conversation is like, before I knew anything about holistic medicine, I thought medicine was there to stop your symptoms. Just do whatever you
That's
can
what
to
it does.
stop those symptoms.
Yeah.
And you guys do not think like that. You're doing exactly what you're just saying. Is like,
There's a reason for it. You need to let it happen, but make sure that you are able to keep it under control in a way. So there's always a reason for your symptoms. You want to address the underlying reason, not suppress the symptom, because the symptom's happening to help you.
to tell you something's bigger is happening.
Either tell you something bigger is happening or help you heal up whatever that underlying dysfunction is.
I love that because you a lot of times don't find out what what caused a symptom. You just fix that symptom and the underlying issue just never gets resolved.
Correct.
So that's awesome. And then, I want to let you guys know that are watching, I did prompt him with some of these questions, but not a lot of them. So especially the whole bacteria thing. And it's not that I did it on purpose to you. I just never know what is going to come out of my mouth on these. So, but I want you guys to know, like that whole conversation about the good people coming in, and like a good neighbor, you want to have other good neighbors.
That was off the cuff.
That was off the cuff, and I only want you guys to know because it's so cool that, it is off the cuff, and that is a lot of times how you'll explain things to us.
Yeah,
So
it's patience, absolutely.
it's just a cool way because that resonates with me.
Mm-hmm.
I want good neighbors. I can get that. And so I think it's awesome. I think that's just part of what's so cool about coming in here for treatments is a lot of times it's easier for me to take the next step in my health because I'm understanding why you're asking me to do certain things or why I should be doing different things or why my body's reacting to different things.
Mm-hmm.
Today, specifically, I had runny nose and stuff, and it was right after I had drank something that had dairy in it.
Yeah.
So I had it was like a creamer in it, but I know it was an organic creamer and stuff, and I'm like, oh, normally I would say oh, it's an allergy.
Yeah.
I need to go get my allergies
And,
tested.
getting to that, if you would get a cream, an actual milk cream that's not superheated, and it doesn't have all kind of stuff in it, there's a much higher likelihood that you wouldn't have any reaction to it. So it's that's the way it's found in nature, and if you consume it like that, then you're less likely to have a reaction.
It's so cool to learn these different little tidbits that I didn't know before, and that's one of the nicest things about coming in here is the education that you get. Dr. Sarah's actually out front right now teaching a class.
Mm-hmm.
You guys teach a class every Wednesday. It's always from 5:30 to 6:30. You'll know if any of you have not come in here yet. Both of the doctors are so respectful about your time. So patients are never sitting here for an hour, even a half hour waiting for their appointments. And so the class is from 5:30 to 6:30 every Wednesday. Next week you'll be teaching.
Yes, I will.
I'll be here with Dr. Sarah. And it's so nice because you guys teach, what you do, how you do it, scientifically why it works. And it's cool because you do demonstrations.
And we give you a lot of other helpful tips that you can take home with you to do on your own. It's good.
There's this one called Heart Math.
It's amazing stuff.
It's pretty cool. So I wanted to let you guys in on that. You can always give us a call if you have any questions about anything that, about what we discussed, but maybe we didn't go over it or, anything like that. Just give us a message and we'll help you out. I understand if you guys don't want to ask any poopy questions in public, but you can always message us and we'll get back to you.
Yes.
So we will see you next week. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.